What's up guys, it's Ben here bringing you an F1 2013 news video on what we know so far based on the tweets of Stephen Hood, the creative designer for Codemasters F1 games. This is episode number 3 of my news series, so if you haven't already, check out my previous 2 videos. I talk about online stuff and, just basically new features like the safety car and other kind of game modes. So go check those out, and if you want to see more, then don't forget to subscribe to be the first to see those. So, getting into this episode, we're mainly going to be talking about the online features, the single player features, of the 2013 game, mainly relating to career mode and AI, that sort of thing. So, let's get straight into it. The first tweet here is from Jack Hickman, and he asked Steve Hood, Steve, are you planning to make the Legend AI harder and more realistic to race? For example, making them brake much later and driver errors also. And Steve says yes, Legend AI is better. We work on that every year. So yeah, basically, the AI is going to be better. They're going to be faster. They're hopefully going to be a little bit faster when you race with them side by side, because that's a bit of a problem I have with the current game. When you start off a race offline in single player with the AI, they seem to just hold you up very much, like through the first few corners. Like you could lose like 10 seconds if you're starting at the back, and then the leaders just break away because they don't really have to race that much, and you just get held up so much. So hopefully that's sorted out a little bit. But yeah, I'm looking forward to better AI and better racing for that matter. Next tweet is from Ollie, and he says, Targa, on F1 2013 career mode, will drivers be able to move teams after the first season? And Steve says, no, the license prevents us from having driver moves. That's pretty much because F1 is an officially licensed game. So that means everything to do with the cars, the teams, the drivers, all have to be official, and it has to relate directly with real life for that year, so that prevents any kind of movements, any kind of customization. So as long as Codemasters are making games, you won't be able to see that sort of thing, which is a bit unfortunate, but I can see why they do it, because they have to have the official branding of and support of Formula 1, so that's why there's no driver changes or moves allowed in the game. Next tweet is from Liam Smith, and he says, will we see a return of interviews in the next game? And Steve says, that'll be telling. For what it's worth, I still think the interview live the life concept is far from dead. Yeah, for me personally, I don't really care that much about driver interviews and walking around in the paddock, which some people have mentioned as a sort of a feature that they want in the game, but to be honest, I don't really care about that stuff. I mainly care about driving and just, racing, really. All the behind the scenes stuff, that doesn't faze me, whether they have it in or not. Let me know what you guys think about that, because it doesn't really bother me. It's just a real side thing. It just doesn't really add to the depth of the game for me, because we're not really trying to simulate the life of an F1 driver. We're sitting in our lounge room holding a wheel or a controller, so it's not entirely real. So if you want the real experience, then you got to go out and get it, I suppose. But next tweet is from Felix, and he says, hi, I have a question. Will you improve the difficulty levels in 2012? The gap between the difficulty levels is too big. And Steve says, yeah, it'll be better this year. Just relating back to that tweet that he said before, because a lot of people are complaining about the AI and their speed and just how poor they are to race with at times. I mean, in my co-op championship, they're pretty bad to race with, which is a bit unfortunate, but if you can see an improvement in the next game, then that'd be awesome. The second part of this tweet is, he says, that's really nice to hear. F1 2012 was really frustrating for me. Intermediate too slow, professional too fast. And Steve says, yeah, I heard a lot about that. Hopefully an improvement on that front this year, less of a gap between difficulties would be nice. Yeah, I think as a whole they need to up the difficulties for all levels, and then maybe add in an even easier level down at the bottom there, so that it can cater for everyone, because on the whole, I think all the difficulties are they're not hard enough. I think it has something to do with the AI cars not running a proper setup. They just run the stock setup, like everything in the middle, like 6.6 wings, whatever. That's fine at the start of the game when everyone's not used to it and everyone's getting up to speed. But once everyone works out the setups, how to drive and everything, then the AI are just way too slow. So they need to work on that. Maybe patch it, say, a month or two into the game and make the AI faster or make them run a proper setup like we're running. I think that'd be pretty beneficial. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Next tweet is from Mr. G, and he says, "Is Mark going to have a bad start, like in real life?" And he's talking about Mark Webber, just relating to driver AI traits and carrying them over into the game. But Steve says no, Mark will be a little bit more consistent in the 2013 game. There is a variation between drivers, but not to that extent. Yeah, I think if they made Mark Webber start very slowly at the start of races, that'd be going a bit too far. I mean, the AI drivers need to have some traits, like just minor ones, little subtle ones, but going to that extent is a bit too far. Just the little subtle differences, like Lewis Hamilton wearing out his tyres a little bit faster than others, and Jenson Button being really smooth, and certain drivers being good in wet conditions, that sort of thing. That's what we like to see in the game, but you don't need to go to that sort of length for added realism. But yeah, that's just my take on that. Next tweet is from Aaron Knight, and he says, "Can we create our own team, and will there be a team principal mode in 2013? Steve says no, the game will still be about being the driver. As much as I'd like team manager elements, that's for another time and game. Yeah, I touched on this in a previous video. I'd like to see like a manager mode where you could possibly buy out the HRT license, come into F1 and just completely control all aspects of the team, like how the car looks and where you get your car, you're building your car up from scratch, that sort of thing. You manage your drivers, maybe get some in or buy established drivers, that sort of thing. That'd be awesome. But unfortunately, having the official F1 license, that prevents customization and all those sort of things from creeping into the game. But I'd love for some time in the future for us to do that sort of thing, because that's something that's really lacking in this game. Just hopefully one day they can do it. But in terms of a team principal mode, I suppose they could do it if you were managing a current team and you weren't having to alter any of the official like liveries and stuff or anything too drastic. They could incorporate it into the game, but I don't think Codemasters have the resources or the time and money to do that. Certainly not on current gen, maybe on next gen for 2014. We'll have to wait and see on that one, but I really hope that they can work something out to just add a little extra depth to the game. But the next tweet is from Wes, and he says, "Will that new nose be on the game or the old trap nose?" What I mean is, on the game, the cars will have the latest updates. And Steve says, most likely the early season cars, as they take an age to build and improve. So basically, what you'll see is they'll base the car performance off of how the cars and teams did early on in the season, like from maybe Melbourne to Malaysia and China this year. So whoever was fast in those races will be quick in the 2013 performance mode. So you'll see teams like Mercedes being pretty quick. Red Bull was pretty quick. Lotus, they actually won the first race of the season in 2013, so they might be pretty quick. They might be a dark horse, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. Yeah, it's pretty close this year, so I'd imagine that most of the cars are going to be pretty close. I think Williams is going to be absolute shite, so stay away from that one. They didn't pick up their form until Monaco, did they? So yeah, stay away from them. But the next tweet is from Helder Ribeiro, and he says, "Hoping 2013 won't be too hard to use with the controller." And Steve says, "Another step forward this year, much easier to play with the control pad." And Vamos says, "Don't Steve, the harder the better, noobs should be banished." And Steve replies, "It's not the nerds I'm chasing, I just want more people to be able to drive consistently lap after lap." And that's F1. I don't exactly agree with Helder there. I mean, when I drove with the controller, it was pretty easy to drive, to be honest. The pad is actually quite easy to pick up and play and be quick. Even for me, I'm a wheel user, so I'm very much used to the wheel. But I found that actually picking up the wheel on this game was really hard to adjust and get comfortable and get fast, because you got the steering lock limitations. The pad, was quite nice, to be honest. I think they are trying to cater for pad users, the majority of F1 game players. So I'm not too sure with this upcoming handling model. They say it's going to have oversteer, so I don't think that's going to suit the pad users that much. But maybe they'll change a few things to allow the pad users to be able to manage that oversteer a little bit better. Because on 2011, when they did have an oversteering handling model, it wasn't too good for them, and the wheel just dominated. But I'm not too sure. The way Codemasters are going, they're going more arcade, I suppose. I mean, 2012 was a big step up in terms of going more simulation with the steering lock inputs and sort of the grip on the track and whatever. But I don't know, I think they're going more towards trying to please the casual gamer, I suppose. I know this is a controversial topic, and you guys will certainly have an opinion on that, but you know, that's just my take on it. But I think it's going to sway towards more the professional sort of hardcore gamer who use the wheel on this next game. But that's my opinion. It's all speculation as well up until this point, until we actually get the game for ourselves. So yeah, I'm not too sure on that one. I'll stop blabbering on about that. I could go on for days. But the next tweet is from Siraj Khan, and he says, "Is F1 2013 confirmed for this year and for current gen consoles?" And Steve says, "Yes, the F1 2013 game will be out this year. More details to follow soon." I'm not too sure if he's saying yes to F1 2013 being for current gen consoles. I think he's just saying yes to F1 being confirmed for this year. But my opinion is it's just going to be on the current gen. Because Codemasters weren't at E3 this year, they sort of took a backseat step for that. They've also delayed their news on the new game, so I'm not too sure when they're going to be announcing any details, official details about the game. It's not until July, I think. So this all points to possibly a release on current gen. It just seems to me like they're not as prepared, or maybe they're just keeping on the down low because they can't compete against like the major gaming companies who are going all out on next gen and have much bigger budgets. So I think 2013 will be on current gen Xbox 360 and PlayStation 4. But here's the final tweet. Basically a guy talking about a Codemasters event on the 17th of July. I guess this is when we're going to see some gameplay. Because it looks like it's not a public, it's a private event. So yeah, hopefully we'll see some gameplay then. I think we'll see some, you know, sort of dev diaries or maybe some screenshots before then. But yeah, once this comes around, I think we'll see some actual gameplay. So that'll be pretty cool. Let me know on what you think of what you saw in this video. I got to give a shout out to Renewable Buttons, who provided the gameplay for this video. So check out his channel. His link will be in the description. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm using a new mic for this video, so let me know how it is. It's a Blue Snowball, but it yeah, I actually haven't listened to it properly, so yeah, I hope I sound a bit better than before. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to subscribe for more F1 2013 news videos. Of course, I'll be making F1 2013 videos when the game comes out in September, which normally comes out around then for the F1 games. But yeah, until the next time I do a 2013 video, guys, I'll see you next time.